All right, guys, happy Tuesday. So I told you that last week I sat down with Lilly Phillips. That's the young lady from the United Kingdom who is resolved to sleep with 1,000 men in less than 24 hours to break a record. So we're going to discuss that, and I'm going to show you portions of our conversation now that it has premiered. Plus, you're not going to be surprised because I think it's just a game between me and Tucker Carlson. I'm in trouble, then he's in trouble. Well, now it's Tucker Carlson's turn again, and he's in hot water, this time, of course, for hosting a guest on his podcast. That guest's name is Jeffrey Sachs, and he's telling the public the truth about Bibi Netanyahu's ambitions in the Middle East. And it's not the pre-approved Likud party narrative. But the guy, he can say it. Jeffrey Sachs can say it because he's Jewish, so he's not going to win Anti-Semite of the Year. And I am very sad to report that there has been another school shooting, this time in Madison, Wisconsin. And again, it has taken place at a Christian school. And again, oddly, the shooter is a female, just 15 years old. She seems to be a radicalized feminist. What does this mean? We absolutely should discuss this. Welcome back to Candace. All right, where to begin? Let's just begin with the Guinness Book of World Record in general. I don't know if you know this, there are over 65,000 world records that are captured in the Guinness Book of World Records. In 2023, 4,975 records were approved. And I have to tell you guys, when I was young, and I'm sure you remember this too, I was quite mesmerized by it all. Like there's the concept when you see how this person holds the Guinness Book of World Records. I was like, wow, could you just imagine just being the best at something worldwide? Like no one else is better than you at this thing. So I'm going to give you a couple of facts about how it works to give you a little refresher, or maybe you've never even thought about it, because I think many people wonder, well, what do you earn? What do you actually win? How much money do you get if you do break or hold a record worldwide? And the answer to that question is exactly $0. Despite there being over 153 million Guinness Book World Record books that are sold worldwide, the actual record holders don't get a single thing other than the right to say, I am a record holder. I am the best in the world. What is the criteria, you might be wondering? Like, what is it? Sports? What is singing? What is it? Honestly, anything that you can think of. If you can think it up and be the best at it, not even the best, really just the only, then you can be awarded, or at least have the title and tell people that you're that person. Some random records. There's a guy named Tyler Phillips. He pogo sticked over 5 cars. Now, is he the best at pogo sticking over 5 cars? I'm going to go with no, probably not. He's just the only one that thought to do it. And contact the Guinness Book of World Record offices about it. I'm sure if LeBron James really put his mind to it, he might be able to crush Tyler Phillips. There's also a man named Zhang Shuang. He is a record holder because he pulled a car 50 meters while walking on his hand. I don't know if that really makes him the best at anything. I think that is one of the only. He just happens to be a person who thought, I'm going to do this random thing and be the only at it. Then there are more passive record holders, people that aren't really athletic at all, like a woman named Lee Redmond. She holds the world record for the longest fingernails. Guess how long? Guess. 28 feet and 4.5 inches. Again, does that make her the best, or does that really just make her peculiar and somewhat gross? I think it's peculiar, and I think it's somewhat gross, because I just would not want to have fingernails that are 28 feet long. So what is it that motivates these people? If you're not motivated by money, then these people are obviously just motivated by the notoriety. And there's no finer modern example of the trappings of notoriety than a young woman named Lilly Phillips. I told you a bit about her. She is indeed from England. I also want to remind you that she is just 23 years old, and she is you guessed it, Instagram model. Instagram model, this kind of new age of modeling. And she is desiring to break one of these obscure world records. And she's willing to defile herself and willing to go against basic principles of morality, because I'm certain that prior to her engaging in this, no one had really thought up how many men can one sleep with in one day. That's what she's thinking about. She wants to know how many men she can have sex with in one day. and she's going for 1,000. Now you might be going, why 1,000? Surely no one's gotten close to that. Actually, someone has. The existing record was set in Warsaw, Poland back in 2004. I was kind of hoping it would be a random Polish girl that did this, but it wasn't. Of course, it's an American girl. Her name is Lisa Sparks. She is a porn star from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and she managed to sleep with 919 men in a single day. She set the record at the 3rd annual World Gangbang Championship in Warsaw. You're like me, you're going, I didn't know that there was a World Gangbang Championship in Warsaw, Poland, but there is. And she went out and did that, and she competed against 2 other women who wanted to achieve this level of notoriety. And she won by 21 men, with each person that she was involved with sexually being allowed 45 seconds with her. Now, I gotta tell you this, the update on this is that on her website, she confessed, she said this, quote, "To be completely transparent with you all, this event is the one thing I regret doing in the 21 plus years in the porn industry to this day. This was also the only job I agreed to perform strictly for the money." They say hindsight is 20/20, but I'd like to think that maybe as women, we could have the foresight to recognize that sleeping with 919 men in one day is going to be something that you deeply regret. And at least that was kind of what I wanted to speak to Lilly Phillips about. I'm not really interested, I told you guys this yesterday, in this whole like outrage culture and screaming and calling each other names. I do think the right is starting to behave like the left, and there's no learning in any of it when we're just being outraged and screaming. Like, obviously what Lilly Phillips is doing is wrong. Me screaming about how wrong that is isn't really going to change her desires any, but having a conversation with her, why would I sit down with someone like this? It's important for other young ladies to hear this in this world where people are just so mesmerized by the trappings of fame. And it's not fame, of course, that they're after, it's infamy. So for Lilly Phillips to beat this record, just to be clear, if you're like me and maybe the math isn't mathing instantly, she's going to have sex with a man every 86.4 seconds for 24 hours straight. And that includes breaks to go to the bathroom, presumably, if she wants to eat something. I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't want to think through the logistics, but it works out to 86.4 seconds. She's got to have a guy. And they're preparing for this day, interviewing the guys, the scumbags that are going to line up to do this. And in further preparation, Lilly decided to do a test trial with 100 men in one day. She's like, okay, I'm going to do 1/10 of it. And she invited documentary makers to capture the big feat because I don't know what she was imagining. I'm assuming she was just like, I'm breaking a record. It's going to be great. And I want to show you this clip that has gone viral. I should have covered this last week, but I was feeling sick, and you're going to definitely hear me sounding sick as I'm speaking with her. But again, these are the moments. The cameras went right in and asked her how she felt about accomplishing 100 men in one day. And what they captured, in my view, is the real Lilly. Raw emotions, which would follow any person who is a human being who has just been used and defiled in this way by 100 men. Take a listen.
It's not for the weak, girls, if I'm honest. It was hard.
But
I don't know if I'd recommend it.
why not?
I think if you're a different type of girl, it's very like, it's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of like, it's just a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it, like...
It's not like just having sex with someone.
Yeah. Just one in, one out, like it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Really?
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Just take
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah.
So that right there is the real Lilly Phillips. And I want to be clear, this documentary maker, the guy next to her, I think his name is Josh Peters, absolute monster to be documenting that. I mean, you just have to be guided by basic principles of morality. And to see her breaking down like that and to be playing the part as if he's her friend and really wanting to understand, oh, she's a bit overwhelmed right now. Oh, is that shocking for you to hear too, Josh Peters, that this 23-year-old young woman who's making a massive mistake and you're, instead of trying to guide her away from it, wanting to capture it. But that's her. That raw emotion is the real Lilly Phillips. And it made me realize that first and foremost, you are dealing with someone who's incredibly delicate, who is now having to put on a front in front of the world because she wants to make a lot of money. She wants to make a lot of money and she wants to do this quickly. She wants to do this in one day. And in order to have a bunch of men sign up to watch that, they don't want to see her crying. So this is not good. She's got to rebrand it and pretend that she's really into it, that the sex is good and she just loves sex so much and she's super freaky. It reminded me of a conversation that I had with Amber Rose. I can't remember if it actually made its way into our interview or if it was off camera, where she spoke about this, how she'd be dying on the inside being asked to do these things, but knowing that this is what was being demanded of her of a sex industry because guys are buying into this fantasy. And so my job sitting across from Lilly Phillips, like I said, wasn't to denigrate her, wasn't to make her feel worse. I'm 35 years old. She is 23 years old. It was truly to try to understand her and to at least get her to admit that she is only doing this because she wants money. And so I asked her really just a basic question. I said, if you're really trying to stress that this is not about money, are you telling me that if Ford Models came to you and offered you $50 million and said, you don't have to know him out, here's $50 million, I just want you to walk down a Victoria's Secret and wear a bikini, you wouldn't take it because you just love the sex so much? And here's what she had to say. Take a listen.
Can you address though what she said? If someone offered you $50 million to never do this or to have never done this, would you have taken the 50 or would you still be like, no, it's something I want to do?
I've always said this. I did this as a hobby before I did it for work. So I was sleeping around and doing these stuff like that before I actually did OnlyFans. I was a lot more promiscuous off camera before I was on camera. And so no, I do this job because I love it so much. And to me, obviously money in every job is a big thing, but it's not about the money for me. It's about
You said you did this to give back to your OnlyFans that afforded your lifestyle. You said that, I think.
No, as in they have really helped me. You know,
What you said, you thought me and my
freedom.
assistant
I never
sat
said
in a
anything
room.
about money.
You
Just
said
about
me
like
and my
freedom.
assistant sat in a room and decided that we should do this as a way to give back to the fans that have supported this, this lifestyle that I have.
Me and my assistant was talking, and I was like, I just looked up the world record because I was like, how cool would this be to do? Because obviously it's something that's kind of obviously never been done before. It'd be really unique content. It would also be giving, back to my supporters and stuff like that who have subscribed and, made my life how it is today. I didn't say lifestyle. So as in like this freedom that I have. I love the life that OnlyFans has given me, definitely. And that's not necessarily money.
What freedom has it given to you if it's not money, out of curiosity?
So to be able to work for myself, to be able to do something I love,
Working for yourself, meaning making, right?
Sorry?
Working for yourself as in being able to earn an income by yourself. And
No, so working for myself to be able to wake up and grab a coffee in the morning and not have to be in a desk at a 9 to 5, to be able to myself and
easy money.
make a living out of it, be able to support. No, so it's to be able to support myself, do something that I
that's
love,
money. Just
and be able
so you know, that's all. That's money you're talking about, like to be able to support yourself.
But I'm not just talking about like money. I'm talking about the freedom this lifestyle has given me.
Money permits freedom. Money permits freedom.
Yeah, we're just trying to connect the dots there.
So money means you have the freedom to do whatever you can in your life, right? That's what money equals essentially time in this case, right? Because you're saying the freedom to do what you want to do. So the question
is the thing. I could do OnlyFans and make 20 grand a month and still have the same lifestyle as I do now, than have to go to this extreme and do the 1,000. Like I could. So it's not really like the money thing for me.
Yeah, because now it's about the fame, the infamy, I think, for you. So there it is. It's obvious that this is something that is going to bring her great pain, but she's already pivoted and now she's pretending like she just had a weak moment after 100 men. And this is really what she's always wanted because, as you heard her say, she used to do this for free. She used to give up the goods for free. And we're supposed to imagine that she was sleeping with 1,000 men per day, as if that's clearly, you could be as promiscuous as you want, but no one has ever done that. And so it has to be about something else. Again, she's back to trying to sell the fantasy to men like she's actually into this. And she's not. And that's why it's important to speak to these people, because I think young women look at this as an example, and she's talking about how this is about freedom. Did you hear her? Yeah, sure, she's got to sleep with 1,000 strange men, but she can get a coffee in the morning. And she doesn't have to think about it. She's not stuck in a cubicle from a 9 to 5. So there are some women who are stuck in a cubicle from 9 to 5 and they then get a coffee. She has so much more freedom because she's just going to sleep with 1,000 men, 1,000 strangers in one day. And she doesn't really see that as a form of bondage, or at least the fake Lilly, who I was interviewing, the fake Lilly doesn't see that. The Lilly that was crying obviously very much understood what she was giving up, and it lets you know that buried down deep, she does have a soul. But the more compelling piece of this for me really was learning that her mother is involved in her career. Her mother manages the finances. And when Lilly spoke to journalists about this, she described her relationship with her mother and her father as being wholesome, that these were good parents because they were supporting her. I know it's shocking. Take a listen to what she had to say. One of the questions that I certainly had when I was reading into your story was, I think that you kind of tried to portray it like you had this like normal upbringing. And I obviously don't buy that because I have children and I have a daughter, and your mother being involved in this signals to me that you had anything but a normal upbringing, because there's no mother that would spiritually want to see her child violated like that, because that's what it is, whether you perceive it or not. Your mother is watching you or helping you or dealing with the finances of you being violated 100 times in one day. And so I was very disturbed by that more than anything else. Is like I've heard of OnlyFans girls. I've sat down with them, respectfully on the whatever podcast, and a lot of them have stories and they understand that, my mom, my dad, my upbringing didn't do this. It led me to this choice in life, but you don't seem to have recognized your mother's abuse in this, which is quite alarming to me. So I'm just curious about your relationship with her.
I mean, my parents definitely don't describe having as, what did you say? Sorry, abusive or
Violating.
I don't think it's abusive. I think
She said
your daughter
violating.
being violated 100 times by strangers is abusive.
So my parents don't describe as being violated. They don't really see it in that way. They know I've always been very liberal, and to be honest, my parents, they don't necessarily, they're not coaching me into it. They're not telling me, please keep having these people at all. They're not, they're not really exactly, I wouldn't really say like supportive, but at the end of the day, they love me. And what is it going to do if they disown me, stop talking to me? That would only cause more heartache. So they see it from a standpoint of, my mum does like my finances because she wants to help me. They just want to do what they can to help. It's not so much like if they disown me tomorrow, like I think that would just make everyone more upset.
Are you giving your mom a cut?
I'm not arguing that they should disown you. I mean, I understand like a mother's love for their child. I'm saying that it is unnatural for your mother to be counting the finances that you're earning from having 100 strangers violate you on the internet for cash, And that is the part that there's just no way to normalize that. There's no way to normalize that. I'm a parent. There's no way, like I have a daughter, and the idea of being involved in that, like, it's not saying that if she goes down that path, that you're not going to be there and pray and hope that, she changes, and speak to her about that and say, I'm always going to love you. But I view it as predatory, parental behavior. And I don't think it's fair to even describe it as my parents are liberal. I mean, I'm obviously not a liberal, I'm a conservative, but none of my liberal friends, liberal family members, their parents would view this also as demonic, whether they have faith or not. They would just say, what parent would want that for their child? Because your mother is old enough to understand what the implications are for your future. You already comprehend what the futures are, making it, I get that you turn everything into a joke. I think you do that really to protect yourself as an armor. I don't think you actually think it's funny, but to recognize that like you're a beautiful young girl, and you're never going to have the prospects. You're not going to have a man that wants to have a family with you because they're going to see you as damaged goods. Your mother partaking in that, just so you know, is a form of abuse. It is. It's abusive. And this kind of gets into the broader point, and I think the main takeaway of what's going on with Lilly Phillips is that all across the world we are facing, I think, a crises of parenthood. Parents that want to be friends with their children, parents that have given into, and I want to be clear, I don't like her confining this and saying, well, this is what liberalism is. Yes, liberals tend to be quite liberal on the sex topic, but even them, I think a bridge too far is 1,000 men in one day. But this is a slippery slope, right? This is the slippery slope of the sex revolution, and it's why I'm very proud of my faith. I think the church got it right. I think things have become increasingly undone in this culture of sex education at school, teaching people that sex is healthy, having multiple partners is healthy. It is why I hate the modern feminist movement, because it leads women to this point of believing that they're going to be empowered the more partners that they have, when in reality what they're doing is they're decreasing their prospects in the future. And so I think Lilly Phillips is an important cultural moment. I think it's good for liberals and conservatives to consider what it is that she's discussing and to realize, I hope, that we have more in common, and to kind of go back and think through the 1970s and the sexual revolution and the indoctrination that children are going through into believing that you're somehow backwards and you're wrong if you want to save yourself from marriage. But what she's doing is totally progressive. And if that's progress, I want to be clear. Send me backwards. I'm archaic. I am totally fine with being considered completely regressive and backwards on this topic of modern feminism. I think it cheapens both women and it cheapens both men. And that's all I'm going to say on the topic of Miss Lilly Phillips. Pray for her, truly. Hopefully she will not go through with this, but my guess is that she's too far deep in, and the people that are surrounding her are absolute monsters. All right, guys, the best way to help you keep God at the center of this season is by joining Hallow's Advent Pray 25 Prayer Challenge. Hallow, as you already know, is the #1 Christian prayer and meditation app in the world, offering thousands of guided prayers to help you get closer to God. And their prayer challenge is called For God So Loved the World, and it's going to help you experience the transformational power of God's love this Advent season. In the prayer challenge, survivalist Bear Grylls and Jonathan Rumi from The Chosen guide you through the book A Severe Mercy, a remarkable story of a couple's encounter with God. You'll also hear from Pastor Francis Chan and Jeff Cavins as they take you through reflections on Scripture, plus actor Kevin James will be a part of the challenge to discuss the spiritual classic, Divine Intimacy. This season will be such a beautiful opportunity to be seriously transformed by God, so do not wait. You can get 3 months free right now when you sign up at hallow.com/Candace. Spend time in the most important thing this Christmas, your relationship with God. That's hallow.com/Candace for 3 months free of Hallow. All right, let's start with Tucker Carlson. He's in trouble because I'm not in trouble. So he's in trouble. Just like I said, it's a game of ping pong. And obviously what gets you into trouble is hosting conversations and getting people out of this propagandist web of information that we have in the West. I think now people are realizing we are severely propagandized. We are told one version of events, and it's really just whoever's paying the most money to our politicians in DC, at least pertaining to America. So you got big pharma propaganda and you've got the war machine. And obviously, I do want to say this, we are now at the tipping point on the conversation about Israel. And it's going to annoy me because I know in 2025, all of these conservative cowards who were quiet and allowed everyone else to take the bullets, let Tucker, Candace take the bullets and not say anything, are then going to come around and start being passionate about it and start calling things a genocide. And, just remember that. They always wait until it's fashionable enough, and then they pretend that they're brave. We saw this with the COVID vaccine. I was no from day one, anti-lockdowns, called all of these names by the media, attacked. I was anti-Ukraine day one. And then once it becomes fashionable, then the conservatives are okay, is it safe? Okay, cool. Has Candace tested whether or not the pond might break in the winter? Has she gone across? Okay, is it safe? Okay, now I'm going to pretend that I love ice skating on ponds. Whatever. That's my point. But anyways, Tucker has been really great at just hosting conversations. He is not as vocal about his opinion, but what his opinion very clearly is that there needs to be more free speech. And he has not been an Israel sycophant. He wants to actually get to the bottom of what's happening in this region. And he's recognizing that there are things that are problematic with Bibi Netanyahu. So particularly what has been coming up, and I have to be honest, when I saw this probably 2 years ago, I thought it might have been a conspiracy theory speaking about the ambitions of Greater Israel, essentially a plan that has been in place for a very long time that Israel has had to expand its borders, knowing fully well that they would have to conduct various wars, various genocides, and have the Western media on their side because Israel does not have enough bodies in Israel to support their war ambitions. So they need to severely propagandize, lobby, blackmail politicians in the West and people in the West to go fight their wars. That seems to be cracking. So Tucker had on this guy, Jeffrey David Sachs. I say this guy, I feel like that's a bit disrespectful. He's very well respected. He's an American economist, a public policy analyst, also a professor at Columbia University. Prior to even being at Columbia, he was a professor at Harvard for 20 years. And I'm going to note here that he is Jewish. So he's allowed to speak about this without having to deal with the smears of being called an anti-Semite, which is just a pathetic form of trying to condition people not to look at this issue objectively, similar to Black Lives Matter back in 2020. Anyways, so here is Jeffrey Sachs, and he's discussing what's going on in Syria as a part of Bibi Netanyahu and the state of Israel's ambitions to just extend their borders and to pretend that they're the victims in all of this. We had this plan and we just got lucky with this October 7th thing and we're going to execute it. And he's reminding you guys that as your media tries to pretend that Syria is this corrupt country and, oh, thank goodness it fell and we've handed it over to Al-Qaeda, actually, no, that's a complete lie. It's completely made up. Syria was a functioning country under Assad. Christians were being protected. And then Netanyahu's got a Netanyahu. Take a listen.
Syria was a normal functioning country at the time, despite whatever you read, whatever propaganda is said. Syria was a normal functioning country. I recently dredged out a report by the International Monetary Fund on Syria in 2009 that praised the Syrian government for its reforms and its rapid economic growth and looked forward to continued years of economic development. In other words, it was not this wasteland or this battlefield. It was an actual normal country.
Was it a threat to the United States?
It was no threat to the United States whatsoever, but it was deemed to be by Netanyahu a threat to Israel because of a simple reason, which is that Netanyahu wants to control all of Palestine, wants to rule over the Palestinian people, does not want a Palestinian state, and that has led to militant opposition. That's led to Hamas, that's led to Hezbollah, that's led to other groups. Netanyahu's theory is, well, we're never going to allow a Palestinian state, so we have to bring down any government that supports those militant groups against us, because our core aim is Greater Israel. That's not much of a worthy cause, by the way. Having a Palestinian state next door and having peace could have saved probably 1 million lives by now over the last 30 years. But that's not Netanyahu's crazy ambition, which is...
What is Greater Israel?
Greater Israel means, depending on how crazy the people are, either that Israel controls not only its geographic territory, but that it essentially controls or annexes the West Bank, the Golan Heights, which they've just enlarged, Gaza.
Golan Heights being part of Syria historically.
It was part of Syria. It's claimed by Israel and now with an expanded territory, and East Jerusalem. So everything that was captured in 1967, Netanyahu explicitly said, we're never giving that back. Now, there are two motivations for that. One, Netanyahu says not safe to give it back because he doesn't want to negotiate any kind of peace or any state of Palestine. Then there are religious zealots, I would use even stronger terms, who use the book of Joshua, which is 2,700 years ago, that said, well, God gave us everything from the river in Egypt, meaning the Nile, to the Euphrates. And there are zealots in Israel, and they're in the government, who believe, yes, this is God's ordinance. We're going to take whatever we want.
So the Nile to the Euphrates would include what?
Well, if you take the if you take the greater view of this, it would include Lebanon, it would include Syria, it would include part of Iraq, it would include part of Egypt, and some of these people actually quote the Bible and say we're going to do this, and it's a little sad and absolutely terribly frightening. But I'd say the more narrow vision is what they call from the river to the sea, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean. That's taken as a pro-Palestinian chant, but it's exactly the opposite. It is the greater Israel literal vision of the government of Israel. It's the literal idea. There happen to be 7 million Palestinians there. That's a minor problem. Maybe they can be ethnically cleansed. Maybe they can be thrown out. Maybe they can just be ruled in a military dominant way. Of course, probably well over 100,000 have been killed in the most recent war by Israel. Official count 45,000 of bodies claimed from the rubble, but we know that there are a lot more that have died since this war in Gaza began. But all of this is to say, this greater Israel idea says we can't make peace with the Palestinians, so anyone that supports the Palestinians is, by definition, a mortal threat to us, and when you have a mortal threat, you must destroy it.
So there you have it. I think people are finally in the West waking up to what's going on. Every single thing that Israel has accused other people of doing is what they are doing. They are guilty of committing a Holocaust against the Palestinian. They have been explicit in their aims. What he describes as perhaps religious fanaticism, I would describe as terrorism. You are watching this on your screens. Like he said, the low estimate would be 45,000 innocent people that have been murdered because of these ambitions. You just have to look for it, guys. You just have to find these clips of Bibi Netanyahu. It's not acceptable. I think all of us had these factory settings as children, and this is in large part due, again, to the amazing amount of spending that AIPAC has done, the power that they have, which JFK tried to stop. Right before he was conveniently assassinated, he told them that they had to register as foreign agents, and they refused to do it, despite the State Department sending them multiple notices saying you are being commanded to register as foreign agents. And then he died, and that went away. And they began spending and investing in our school system, and they're spending and investing in Hollywood. All of us have these factory settings that, well, if the Jews say something's happening to them, then we must believe everything they're saying. We want to make sure that we are not backing a Holocaust. We would never want bad things to happen to Jewish people. And we never considered that people who are Jewish, like Bibi Netanyahu, might be the very people that are executing it. You know, the closest thing that we've ever had to an Adolf Hitler, in my view, is Bibi Netanyahu. And so if you've ever asked yourself what you would have done if you were alive, the answer to your question is happening right now. If you have not used your platform to speak out about what's happening against the Palestinians, to do the basic amount of research to get around the mainstream media, to recognize that these have been plans, Greater Israel for a long time, accusing the Palestinians, when they say from the river of the sea, of it being a genocidal chant. And I can't believe Elon Musk bid on that, when in reality, it is an explicit call for genocide, and their belief that they're biblically allowed to commit a genocide if they want to, in order to have the borders that they want. That's happening now. And so I am grateful for brave people like Tucker Carlson. I'm grateful for independent media, and just grateful that God gave me the clarity on what's happening in that region before it was too late. And hopefully it's not too late, and we get to make a difference by just having these sorts of conversations. All right, guys, taking a moment to remind you about PreBorn, because every baby's life is a precious gift full of potential and dreams that are waiting to unfold. That's why PreBorn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front lines for at-risk babies and mothers that are facing unplanned pregnancies. PreBorn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion rate areas in the country. They're equipping these clinics with the resources they need to save these precious lives and provide compassionate support to mothers for up to 2 years after birth. As abortion continues to rise, PreBorn is expanding their life-affirming care to help more hurting women and save more lives. If you have the means, please consider a leadership gift to save babies in a very big way. A tax-deductible donation of $15,000 will place an ultrasound machine in a women's center, saving countless lives for years to come. And now, PreBorn will match your gift, doubling the donation amount. To donate, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. All right, guys, as a final tragic topic, obviously, we have to talk about what's happening in Madison, Wisconsin. And I really want to talk about the broader aspects of this, another school shooting and a young woman being the one that was pulling the trigger. That is what is so shocking. It is not something that you think about. For women to harm young people, it is so spiritually backwards. It's stunning to me to think of a 15-year-old girl with her entire life ahead of her doing what she had done. So first and foremost, let me just tell you what happened, because it took place again at a private Christian school in Wisconsin. 6 people were injured, including a teacher who was killed and a teenage student which was killed. Obviously, as in most of these circumstances, you find the suspect is a coward and they immediately take actions to end their own life. That was the case for this young woman whose name is Natalie Rupp now, again, 15 years old, and she has been confirmed as the shooter. She was also one of the students at the Christian school, the Abundant Life Christian School, and people have been able to dig up some information on her, particularly one ex-reporter. And thankfully for this reporting, is I'm so tired of us having to wait, 20 months after the FBI approves that we're allowed to read the manifesto or have access to it. And by then they've gutted everything that's important. No, we have to understand what is happening. We are obviously facing a mental health crisis in this country. We can just park aside any dumb arguments about needing to pass more gun legislation laws. Obviously, you're not allowed to legally obtain a gun as a 15-year-old anywhere in the United States. And this is a case of her saying that she tricked her father and she got it. And the conversation that we should be having, which we have been having today, is about broken homes, because this is a teenage girl who had an extensive online obsession with school shooters and death. She used a pseudonym Sam online, and she would often reference the Columbine shooters. If we had all of these agents, the FBI, the way they swooped in on January 6th, if only they could pay attention to teenagers who are idolizing and posting pictures of other school shooters right onto their Tumblr pages, maybe some of these things could be avoided. Anyways, I want to read you this Twitter thread from, as she looks to she used to be involved in media, maybe Rebel News, Redux. Point is it's an independent journalist, and she was able to make contact with the alleged boyfriend of the Wisconsin shooter. We've looked into this. The information that @Slatesism has posted all seems to be legitimate and is being confirmed slowly by the mainstream media apparatus. Anyway, she says that the boyfriend, I want to be clear, we're kind of putting boyfriend in air quotation marks here because they were in an online relationship. It wasn't a real life relationship. They met online and considered each other to be boyfriend and girlfriend. He was very forthcoming with everything, obviously, because he was quite shocked by this. So here are some of the facts that are being delivered by this reporter. First and foremost, her boyfriend knew her as Samantha. Again, like I said, that was a name that the shooter was using, but not the real name is Natalie, but definitely went by Samantha online. She also went by a different name, but the boyfriend said that on her school identification card, she had adopted the name Samantha. As I said, she was a student. She's 15 years old. She was born female, presented as female. This is not a transgendered manifesto, but the manifesto that she did create was entitled War Against Humanity, and the manifesto is 6 pages long. In that manifesto, the shooter speaks about having extreme difficulty in her relationship with her parents, who she referred to as scum. She claimed that her family did not love her or want her and expressed feeling like she was just the wrong child of her family. She had planned to commit suicide a long time ago, but felt that if she had committed a shooting, it would be better for evolution rather than just one, quote, stupid, boring suicide. She expressed deep admiration for other shooters of the past, and she offered particular praise for, and forgive me for my pronunciation here, Küçük Yiğitim, who was the Turkish neo-Nazi who committed a mass attack earlier this year, and stated that that person was her inspiration. She referred to him as the ultimate saint. So you can see this person was chronically online, chronically reading the manifestos, and in my viewpoint, looking for a way to be seen, because what we were able to do was to confirm that she came from a really rotten background. She had parents that had been divorced multiple times, that were battling addictions. This wasn't something that she was alleging. This is something that was true. Here's a direct quote from her manifesto on her parents. She wrote, "I see my parents as failures for everything they've done to me and just kind of effing with my life. There never was helpful advice given to me. It was all BS. The world itself is BS, to be fair, though, so why should I or you see so much in it? I've never really liked my father, to be exact, because honestly, why should I? Our hate is mutual to each other. He will never see me as his daughter. He will never love me like he loved his ex or her kids or even alcohol. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore because nobody heard me out and just made fun of me my entire life, and I'm sick of it." So you get the point here. Obviously, she came from a very rough upbringing, and it is implied that her father's an alcoholic. Later on in the thread, our ex-journalist expressed that her understanding was that Rupno had been bullied at school. It's something that at least the boyfriend had emphasized to her because, like I said, this reporter spoke to the boyfriend for 4 to 5 hours to get as much information as possible. So this is really incredible work. And court records, this is going back into the thread, court records I have seen show she is telling the truth about the repeat divorces in her family and ongoing legal battles between her mother and father. So this is a circumstance, again, where society is trying to diagnose the gun. Society wants to believe that there's some quick fix. We need more government involvement. And I look at this problem and I think how we got to this place in society is because of government involvement, right? We had households that were together. We had people that were aspirational. Going back to Lilly Phillips, we had people that were growing up believing they should save themselves for one person, get married, have a family, focus on their family. And everything became radicalized with the modern feminist movement. You suddenly had people wanting to pursue independence. Suddenly the idea of having a family that's super together didn't see attainable. Women started drinking more. The alcoholism rates amongst women is something that I'm working through right now in a book that I'm publishing in January, realizing how much more women binge drink, not having stable parents at home, making divorce something that's just an easy option. Oh, now you can just get a divorce whenever you want. We have removed the sacred from the home in so many ways. And so when I look at this circumstance and this girl who basically took out her internal pain, feeling that she didn't belong, that nobody loved her, that her father hated her, that her mother was in many ways emotionally abusive, I guess you could say. And her resolve was, then the world just must be broken. The world must be broken. So it doesn't matter what I do in this world. It would be an act of service for me to harm people on the way out. It would be an act of service for me to kill people so that they don't have to live in this world. That's tremendously sad. Obviously, this girl became a monster and she did something monstrous, and the victims in this, it's just so sad that people lost their lives because of an absence of parenting and a refusal for society to have an actual conversation of how we haven't increased guns in America. Guns have always been in America since our founding, and yet we've never seen a circumstance of kids like we are seeing today that are looking for this sort of attention, that are willing to go through these sorts of lengths to be seen. They've never been more vacuous. They've never been more lost. And it's not going to stop. It's genuinely not going to stop until we start addressing the real problems and stop blaming inanimate objects. That's my personal opinion on that. So we will stay up to date on this, guys. Please pray for the victims' families. Also pray for the people that are in critical condition in the hospital. Pray that they pull through this. And again, goodness, I mean, to think about these chronically online kids posting this stuff and the parents are not aware of it, it's just completely unacceptable. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. Do you owe back taxes? Pandemic relief is now over. Along with the hiring of thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Do not waive your rights and speak with them on your own. They are not your friends, obviously. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can definitely help you, whether it's business or personal. Even if you have the means to pay or on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. So call 1-800-958-1000 for a private free consultation, or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. All right, guys, before we go, I'm going to get into some of your comments regarding episodes past. I can't believe, by the way, it's Tuesday. We only have 3 more days of the show this year. That's very sad. I'm going to miss you. Are you going to miss me? Don't worry. We're going to have to pull up some old episodes so you can still listen to me on Spotify. And I'm just going to be missing you guys and checking my tags on Instagram. All right, first set of comments. This is from Zonable. He writes, Iraqi immigrant served 2 terms in the military. I love you from the bottom of my heart, Candace. I pray for you. I thank you for all that you do. Thank you. And please know that when I say that I'm pro-veteran, I'm not like the fake pro-veteran, fake America First people who are like, no, we should get out of wars unless it's for Israel, which is like every war that we're involved in. And whatever terms you were serving in the military, I'm going to go ahead and guess, did not actually make America any greater, but certainly helped the greater Israel ambitions. Habiba writes, as a South Asian Muslim, it's so refreshing to see conservatives in America, especially Christians, actually seeing through the lies Western media paints about wars in the Middle East instead of just eating it up. Literally, thank you, Candace. You are doing God's work. God bless. Thank you, guys. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't even exist or have gotten through this year if it wasn't for you guys recognizing that all I was trying to do was tell the truth. And the Christians are going to need more work in America because Christian Zionism is not has nothing to do with the Bible. It is a political. It's a heresy if you're trying to even think of it in the context of theology, but really it's just a political movement. And the only way to conquer that, which I'm going to work on, is to really get into the Schofield Bible and the history of the Schofield Bible and getting Christians to recognize that this was a Zionist-funded project. Before Israel existed in 1948, the Zionist Congress got together and decided that they were going to need to brainwash Christians in the West to accomplish their goals. And this is just the reality. This is the true history of the Schofield Bible, making you believe that you're going to be blessed if you turn a blind eye or celebrate the mass murder of Muslims in the Middle East. It's just a nonsense. It's so heretical. It shouldn't require theological discussion. It should just be like instinctive that something's wrong if you accept that narrative. And it's a tough conversation to have. And obviously for me, it's even tougher because I was Protestant. It's something that pushed me into the Catholic faith because I realized the Catholics who are so libeled and smeared and how always have been in America, and that's intentional. The media hates Catholics. That hatred stems from the fact that Pope Pius X, when Theodore Herzl visited him, said, no, Israel, you don't have a right to become a country and we're not going to support you. And there's a lot of history there. Again, we will get to it in the new year. I'm really excited about that. Next up, JLC Internet writes, you can't put America first if you put Israel on the same boat. There's not enough room for both. Choose America. That's simple. Well said. Joe Carroll writes, it's time for America to do its own thing for its own citizens and nation. No taxpayer dollars should go out of their own country for the next few decades. Make it happen great again. Unfortunately, we are an economic slave country to Israel, and I don't see any signs of that slowing down under the Trump administration. He has not indicated that he would stop that, but I think it's going to be something that he's going to have to grapple with, and I'm grateful for that. I think, for Trump, all of us getting behind him, this was really about redemption, and he needed to win because what happened in 2020 wasn't fair. But the conversation is going to be very, very different in 2028. This sort of like Zionist pledge, people wearing Israeli pins on stage as they're asking you for your vote to be the president of the United States, it's not going to fly. And so some major headways. I'm very, very excited about it. Kulakwa writes, well, in Rabbi Shmuley's defense, pineapple pizza is a crime. Okay, I agree. I have to say, I'm sorry. My producer just gave me a dirty look. I see you give me a dirty look. Because of course you would like pineapple pizza. You're just weird. He's just a weird guy. Of course she likes pineapple people. It's wrong. And it's so wrong I haven't even tried it. I can't even explicitly say anything against pineapple pizza because I have the basic morality to know that I shouldn't even try it. And some people don't have that. They just go, I'm just gonna try pineapple pizza. It's crazy. And clearly Skylar, the producer, is one of those individuals. It makes me sick. All right, guys, if you're feeling stressed about giving your family a memorable holiday, you are not alone. Prices remain higher than ever, and a lot of Americans are maxing out their credit cards. Now is the perfect time to take control of your finances and pay off that debt. If you're a homeowner, American Financing can help you unlock the equity in your home, and you can start saving right now. Their customers save on average $800 a month. Just imagine what that could mean for your family. Plus, if you act now, you could even delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you extra cash for the season. And wouldn't it be nice to start off the new year without that debt and those monthly minimum payments? It costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you could be saving. Christmas is going to be here before you know it, so call one of American Financing's salary-based mortgage consultants today. You can call now at 800-795-1210. Again, that number is 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. On the topic of Caitlin Clark, I just thought conservatives were being way too aggressive towards a 22-year-old who is allowed to experiment with ideas. It's a good time to do that, and she's not really harming anybody. I think she's just trying to survive. This person says, why should Caitlin Clark acknowledge anyone? The award was given to her. Yeah, exactly, but the pressure that's put on her, of course, because she's in a media firestorm, guys, I mean, we know what this is. There are the prevailing thoughts. She's being bullied all the time. They're constantly asking her race questions. I didn't think she really went that far. She wasn't exactly taking a knee and shredding the Constitution and saying, I hate being white. She was just peddling the talking points that she literally learned in school 5 minutes ago. They learned about white privilege actively, why people are taught to believe that this is real, that there's just like some sort of a social science. Again, she's 22 years old. There's a lot of things for us to be outraged about. I think like give Caitlin Clark a shot. Sandy CIK writes, Candace, the way you schooled Megyn Kelly was so empathetic. The way you carry yourself is the epitome of grace. It's evident that you've used all of life's challenges to shape yourself into a strong and wise Catholic woman. And may I add, a funny one. Thank you so much. You know, I don't have an issue with Megyn Kelly. I just think that she's quite angry a lot of the time. And I just feel like she just doesn't give the same grace that she gives herself. You know, like I thought it was trans. I was cool with that. I mean, she notoriously issued an apology for saying something very sensible about blackface during Halloween because she wanted to keep her job. And like I said, she was in her mid-40s when she did that, and people forgave her. So I think we can give a little bit of grace here to Caitlin Clark. Keith writes, nope, sick and tired of the white privilege trope. Clark should have said everything she said without that garbage. Yeah, it's easy to say this sort of stuff from the internet, and not so easy when even me, as 35 years old, dealing with Firestorm all the time, it comes with so many consequences that for a lot of people, you just say the easy thing when you're being asked a question about something. And you are getting bullied every day by people who are older than you, who have a lot of power than you, who don't want people to hate you in the WNBA. And she said a thing. That's it. I just still do not think this is that big of a deal for a 22-year-old kid because we were all idiots when we're 22 years old. Like I said, I was on the left. I believed all the things about feminism. And I would just be like totally miffed if a bunch of conservatives who have had time to deal with all of their thoughts and didn't come out of school and learn these things were just randomly attacking me for me just trying to be what I think is a good person. I think her heart was in the right place, even though she said something that I disagree with. And if your heart's in the right place and you're just wrong, maybe just tell somebody they're wrong without screaming at them and telling them that they're going to have no more fans and their life is over. I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I too sensible? Who knows? Anyways, you guys, we will see you tomorrow.